Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Welcome to Kalos's Gaming Table. I am Kalos. A computer game franchise near and dear to my heart is the Mechwarrior series. I played the original Mechwarrior back in the day. I remember first seeing the cinematic opening for Mechwarrior 2 31st Century Combat, or I always called it Mechwarrior 2 The Clans. I played this, the Ghostbearer Legacy expansion, and then Mechwarrior 2 Mercenaries. Mechwarrior 3 was fun, going through Operation Bulldog, though I remember having issues with its expansion, Pirate's Moon. Mechwarrior 4 Vengeance and its expansion, Black Knight, were such a step up in graphics and mission design, and I remember loving the hardpoint system that it introduced. The gold standard for Mechwarrior games, for me though, was Mechwarrior 4 Mercenaries. I loved the box art, the fact that you could pick one of 4 mercenary companies to join, plus finally getting to fight on Solaris. And it was there that we were first introduced to the man, the myth, the legend, Duncan Fisher. And then the Mechwarrior franchise went dark. In 2009, Smith & Tinker put out a trailer for a new Mechwarrior game, and it shocked everyone as we got to see a Warhammer in action after the Harmony Gold Unseen fiasco. It looked great and action-packed. Unfortunately, that project died, and then we went back to waiting. And waiting. And waiting. Mechwarrior Online was released in 2013, and the Battletech community gobbled it up. I never got into Mechwarrior Online, as while I am the target demographic for a Battletech game, I am not a huge PvP fan, and Mechwarrior Online is all PvP all the time. Things changed in 2019 when Piranha Games released Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. There was a little brouhaha over it, as it was originally released through Epic Games, but eventually it was released to other providers, such as Steam. I remember reading the reviews, and they were okay. It was a fun game, but it lacked polish, and there was not much to do once you beat the main campaign. It looked amazing, however. That is one great thing about the Mechwarrior series: the developers keep pushing the visuals forward. DLCs for Mechwarrior 5 were released, and each one provided a little more content, new ways to play, new mechs, and generally improved the experience. Or so I had read. At the time, the laptop I was driving did the job I needed it to for writing and playing older games, but I never looked at getting into anything newish because the lowly 8GB of RAM would choke when I tried to run any newer games. I have since upgraded. It's not a gaming laptop, but it gets the job done and all the stuff I want to do on it now. At the beginning of 2026, Steam had a pretty amazing sale on Mechwarrior 5, and almost all of the DLCs included with it, plus a great digital bundle including the original soundtrack, some art, and a battle mat guidebook. I snagged it and got to work on seeing what the fuss was all about. Which brings me to the meat of this video, my review for Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. I realized that the pre-ramble was a bit long, but I do have a bit of history with the Mechwarrior computer game franchise as well as Battletech. In Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries, you play, well, a mercenary, Jake Mason. You travel from system to system, selling your services, accruing C-bills, new mechs, pilots, and increasing your reputation. You can pick a faction and build up your reputation with them, but oftentimes at the expense of your reputation with a rival faction. As of the recording of this video, I'm about 40 hours into the game, and by the time of this video's release, it will more than likely be higher. I'm going to break this review down into multiple parts and discuss my thoughts on them. Before I get started, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others. I'm clawing my way towards 1,000 subscribers, and every little bit helps. If you have any feedback, drop them in the comments below. Now, let's get to the review. Gameplay. We're talking about a game where you pilot a giant walking tank, armed and armored as only you can be in the 31st century. Mechwarrior 5 does a fantastic job of conveying the fact that you're in a 10-meter tall war machine that does not exactly turn on a dime. You get a sense of weight, scale, and the ever-present thunder as you walk forward or kick your mech into a run. Some mechs do have jump jets, allowing you to leap into the air, over targets, or in some cases, landing on top of them in that risky but ever fun death from above. Each mech is different, but they all have similar features. You can play like me, primarily using stock mechs as you get them, but then you have the ability to change out the weapons loadouts, increase or decrease the armor, and customize each battle mech to suit your playstyle. The sheer variety of weapons to destroy your enemies is astounding, and enemy units abound in Mechwarrior 5, plus they're not all battle mechs. There are vehicles from light hovercraft to LRM carriers to heavy main battle tanks. There are VTOLs that will fly in and harass you, but they're easy to swat out of the sky. There are turret emplacements that can be hidden and pop up, blasting you in the rear. There is artillery that you have to find and silence, otherwise they'll keep spewing shells into your location. And then there are the mechs. So many mechs. Mechs of all sizes and variety. Mechs with a diverse set of weapons. I'll get into these a bit more in depth later, but this is a Battletech Mechwarrior game, so you'll be facing a lot of battle mechs. The controls for me are well laid out and make sense, especially as an old school FPS player, though you have the ability to remap the keys to your liking. You can play on the PC with a keyboard and mouse, but you can also hook up a gamepad and play that way, though I have no experience with it. I found the response time pretty good, though I am primarily on a wireless keyboard and mouse, and sometimes there is a little bit of a delay. Life in the cockpit. This is where you'll spend a good chunk of the game, piloting your mech, moving from nav point to nav point, and eliminating enemy units with brutal abandon. You'll have your main HUD, where you'll have a good view of the battlefield and elements of your mech. You'll see your targeting reticle, which you can move either by turning the mech itself or using the mouse to move your torso around. You can zoom in on the HUD to see better, often to target a specific part of an enemy mech. At the top left, you'll see your lance. From here, you'll be able to give them such orders as to follow you or to attack your current target. Keep in mind, your lance mates are pretty dense. To your immediate left, you'll see your mission objectives, as well as any secondary objectives. As they are completed, they will fade. The bottom left shows the status of your mech. It'll start out in teal, but as you start taking damage in various components, it'll change to yellow, to red, to eventually gone. In the bottom middle of the HUD, you'll see a basic map where you can review friendlies, who are green for your lance and blue for allied units. Enemy units will show in red, triangles for mechs, and little asterisks for vehicles. You can also bring up a bigger map by pressing B. The bottom right will show you your weapons list. You are able to go in and map weapons to specific mouse buttons, which is nice. The top right of the screen shows your current target and the amount of damage it has taken. You can cycle through targets. I'll often target a big threat and stick my lance mates on it until it goes away. At the very top, you'll have a compass showing your direction, and it'll also show if your torso is turned right, left, or center. When you enter the battlefield, you'll usually have a waypoint that you must reach, sometimes multiple waypoints. Point your mech in the direction of the waypoint, start running, and off you go. Combat in Mechwarrior 5 is straightforward, fast, and brutal. Put the targeting reticle over an enemy unit and pull the trigger. It's not really that easy, as the enemy doesn't like to get shot and are often moving around. The weapons in Mechwarrior 5 also have different range brackets, from the in-your-grill short range to being able to blast a target at a kilometer or more away. On your heavy and assault mechs, it's a good idea to have a mix of weapons to ensure that you cover the spread at all range brackets. If you have long-range missiles, you have to lock on with them before you can fire, but they also have a minimum range, and if the target's in minimum range, you can't fire the LRMs. They're a good weapon to blast a target at range before you get in close. Speaking of that, if you like getting up into the personal space of an enemy, you can also pound away with a battle fist, or another melee weapon like a sword. This can be satisfying, especially if you have an enemy mech on the ropes and you want to send the pilot to Valhalla in style. There are 4 main ways you can take down an enemy mech. Number 1, you can core it. This is where you completely delete the center torso of the mech where the engine sits. This can take some work on larger mechs, but lighter mechs can get cored quickly. Keep in mind that if you do core a mech, their fusion engine might stack pole, and if you get too close, you can take some splash damage. Remove both of the mech's legs. If you destroy the leg on a mech, it'll slow it down, but it'll still be able to fight. Destroy both legs, and it is removed from the battle. Destroy all the weapons on the mech. Some mechs have weapons strictly in their arms, so if you Monty Python Black Knight it, they'll punch out. Take the head out. The pilot of the mech rides around in its head. so once you get proficient enough, or lucky, you can target the head on an enemy and get a lot more sweet salvage. However you take the mech down, the enemy pilot will give some sort of a death cry, the computer will alert you to the target's destruction, or other pilots in your lance will compliment you on your kill. Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries is all about running your own mercenary company. That involves a lot of moving parts, the biggest of which is money, and in Battletech, the unit of currency is the C-bill. You'll have to pay the salaries of your mech warriors, repair the inevitable damage you'll take, buy any new mechs and weapons, as well as traveling from system to system. There are regions where you can get steady work called conflict zones, where contracts for your services are available. However, it can cost more to repair your mech here, as well as take longer to complete the work. You can purchase mechs here as well, though they are often damaged and in need of repair. Conflict zones are usually designated in red areas on the global map. Then you have industrial hubs, systems that are linked where you can go to effect repairs on your mechs without any penalty. Finding them and traveling to them are not always easy, and in some instances it is cheaper to pay the extra fees in the conflict zone. You can often buy better equipment and mechs here, as well as hiring new pilots. Repairing and rearming your mech are not immediate. You can jump ahead in the timeline to when the repairs are done, but I like to initiate repairs in an industrial hub world and then jump to my next campaign mission. Industrial hubs are also where you can compete in the competitive circuit, dueling against other mechs for fame and fortune. These are fun little contracts that get you some extra C-bills and even has its own reputation system. One of the things I wish I had known about, I wish I had paid more attention to, are my pilots. I picked up one from a mission and hired a couple more to fill out my lance. I glanced at them, but I didn't look much beyond that. Each pilot had their current rating and then their max rating. They also have skills for each weapon, and those max out at 10. On a whim, I checked one of the hiring halls and then compared some of those pilots to the ones I had. Let's just say I'd been making do with pilots with a max rating of 35 and weapon skill ratings into the 5s. Some of the pilots I was finding at the hiring halls had a max rating of 60, with some special traits to boot. So I've been spending a lot of time collecting more elite pilots. I kept Leon Freeman as he's practically been with me since the beginning. And then you have travel. Unlike in Star Wars or Star Trek, where traipsing around the galaxy can be done in a matter of days, with Battletech, you have to hook up your dropship to a jump ship, and then that jump ship jumps to a maximum of about 30 light years out, and then the jump ship has to recharge. In game terms, you can jump a maximum of 10 systems. Luckily, you can fairly easily tell the distance and set up multiple trips. Needless to say, if you're in the middle of the Draconis Combine and need to head to the other side of the sphere for a campaign mission, you could be waiting in game time weeks to months. Luckily, it just tells you how many days it will take to get to the destination system without you having to experience the actual travel. You'll need a lance of up to 4 battle mechs, each one needing a pilot. You can pick up pilots from the industrial zones, but in general, the AI for these are bad. Very bad. During a mission, you can switch between the various mechs, and I've had to do this when one gets stuck somewhere and can't figure out how to catch up with the lance. I find my lancemates are decent at cleaning up the trash while I focus on actual objectives. The battle mechs. Come on, this is probably the biggest selling point of the game and one of the reasons you are hopefully watching this video. This is a Mechwarrior game, and there are battle mechs aplenty. From the lowly Locust to the devastating Atlas, Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries has you covered for battle mechs. As with Battletech, there are 4 main classes of mechs. Light mechs running between 20 and 35 tons, medium mechs which run 40 to 55 tons, heavy mechs which run from 60 to 75 tons, and then your assault mechs which weigh 80 to 100 tons. The lighter the mech, typically the faster and more nimble it will be, but they won't pack as much of a punch or carry as much armor. As the mechs get bigger, the weapons and amount of punishment you can take and dish out are increased, but they also slow down. A staple of both Battletech and Mechwarrior games is the ability to torso twist, allowing you to walk one way and twist to target enemy units. Another staple of Mechwarrior is heat. Heat can be just as much of an enemy as the Op-4. Everything your mech does, short of standing still, generates heat. Walking and running build only a little heat, but energy weapons, like the PPC, will generate a lot of heat. Build too much heat and your mech will shut down. Heat sinks can be added to your mech to help dissipate that heat, but they weigh and take up valuable space in your mech. Each mech has a stock variant, but you can change the loadout in between missions. There are hardpoints on each mech specific to each class of weapon, whether energy, ballistic, or missile. You can try different configurations, just make sure to add ammunition if needed. You'll be getting a lot of great weapons and tech as the game progresses, and upgrading your mechs is important. In addition to upgrading your mechs, you can also paint them with a fairly simple system. That way you can unify all your mechs. As the game progresses, you'll also receive battle mechs as rewards. Plus, you'll be able to buy them at the many planets that you visit. There are different types of weapons. Ballistics, which covers autocannons and Gauss rifles. Missiles, which covers your short-range and your long-range missile variety. Energy weapons, from the small laser all the way up to the PPC, and then close-quarter weapons, namely hand-to-hand, such as a hatchet or a sword. Ballistics and missiles can do a lot of damage, but they're dependent on ammunition. If you run out of ammo, you have a very expensive paperweight in your mech. Energy weapons don't require ammunition, but they generate more heat, so it's a good idea to add in more heat sinks to counter that. You can pull weapons or components in order to add more armor. It's a big dance that you'll go through in order to balance the damage output of your mech as well as being able to take punishment. Currently, I'm going through a vanilla playthrough, meaning I have no mods in play as of this recording. I like the system to modify your mech overall, but I understand there are some mods that help improve this. All of the mechs that I've come across so far exist within the Battletech canon, except for two. The first is the Corsair, which is a 95-ton Franken-mech. What is a Franken-mech, you ask? It's a mech that has multiple limbs from different mechs cobbled together into one mech. The Corsair is not canon in the overall Battletech lore, but it's a fun mech and I love how it looks. The second mech I've only encountered on Solaris, and it's the Loader King, a 65-ton mech. Both mechs are considered apocryphal. They exist within the game, and while you might design a mech to be used in Battletech, since they are created for the computer game, they are not official, similar to the Bull Shark from Harebrained Schemes Battletech. With each successive DLC, more mechs chassis are added to the game, giving you a massively diverse stable of mechs, weapons, and pilots to search for to add to your company. When you drop, you'll have a lance of up to 4 mechs. On deck, you can have a lot of mechs on standby, and it's a good idea to have spares ready just in case you don't have any repair time. Some missions will also have weight limits, so it's good to have a variety of mechs to help cover that spread. Every mech waiting has maintenance fees that must be paid every 90 days, so a way to save money is to put any that you don't plan on using into cold storage. Here, all the weapons are stripped from the mech that is stored, though where on the Leopard dropship these guys hang out I have no idea, as there is no limit to the amount of mechs you can put in cold storage. Environment. In Mechwarrior 5, you will move around the inner sphere, landing on dozens, perhaps hundreds of different worlds, and each world to me felt unique and different enough. Mechwarrior 5 has so many different biomes in it, and each of them look gorgeous. Some planets have dense, lush forests, and you can suddenly understand why in classic Battletech you can't see through too many hexes of woods. Not all planet drops are during the day in bright sunny weather. Sometimes you drop at night or in the middle of a storm. There could be thick fog or smoke. Your mech can handle it all, but it doesn't take much to obscure your sights, causing shots to go wide. These planets aren't all wildlands either. There are cities, and moving through these urban jungles can be fun, but also a pain. Anything that breaks line of sight with your target for too long will cause that target to vanish from your scope. So much of the environment is destructible as well, I mean violently so. Trees will incinerate when hit with a laser or PPC. Buildings crumble when blasted, especially with an autocannon. And remember, you're piloting a ginormous walking war machine. Trees will be crushed underfoot, and buildings will not survive having a 100-ton Atlas stomping through it. There was one mission with mud that slowed your mech down, and it was recommended to have jump jets to clear it. I love how varied all the environments are, even the volcanic area where I thought I was stomping into Mordor or dropping into Mustafar. Missions. In Mechwarrior 5, you take on missions of all types in order to get your C-bills. There are 3 main classifications of missions. Your standard Garden Variety mission that can be selected inside of any conflict zone. These are typically one-and-dones, go here, attack, defend, scan, and once your mission is complete, you head to the exit zone. You can review the missions and negotiate with your prospective employers. The higher your rep with a particular faction, the more points you get to spend. First up, you have cash money. The higher you select here, the more C-bills you get. Next you have salvage, where you can get a percentage of the salvage from the battlefield, allowing you to pick up weapons, ammunition, components, and even mechs. The third option is repair. Your employer will agree to cover some of the damage that will be inflicted on your lance. It's always best to try to avoid damage, but it's all but impossible to do so. This helps with a little insurance money to cover those costly repairs. The last option, which is not always available, is artillery. With this option, you can purchase artillery strikes. I've not really used this option, but I have read where players will buy up artillery strikes in order to level a city. Destroy missions are straightforward. Destroy all the enemy units, destroy a specific structure, or completely demolish an entire base as only a lance of battle mechs can do. These are a lot of fun. There's usually a target-rich environment, and you can use your mech as the Kool-Aid Man, just tearing through buildings like a wrecking ball. Defensive missions can be a bit more tricky as you have to protect a designated site, and charging through the city to reach an OPFOR or shooting and missing might result in collateral damage. There are usually waves of enemy units as well, forcing you to pivot from one location to another to counter them. There are missions with multiple sequential drops, meaning you might not have enough time between these missions to repair your damage. I'd recommend having a deep stable of mechs and a big bank account in case you're forced to pay conflict zone prices for mechs. The second group of missions are for the arena, and these are picked up at industrial hubs. Here you'll go up against other mech warriors for purse and salvage, and all for the entertainment of the masses. Think Roman gladiatorial games. These can be easy money as there often are no weight limits or mech limits, and you can bring all assaults. There's a good chance you're going to go up against a bunch of light and mediums. The color commentary can be fun as well, though it does get repetitive, but it certainly adds to the ambiance. Final class of missions are campaign missions. These are where the Mechwarrior 5 stories unfold, whether you're playing the actual campaign mission or any of the missions from the DLCs. These will have you traveling all around the Inner Sphere and are not always straightforward. For the official campaign missions, these are locked behind your reputation. You have to raise your reputation to a certain point in order for these missions to become available. This means in between story beats, you'll have to travel around the sphere looking for work and gaining rep. These missions will also have a twist of some kind. You might have to go up against a tough force once you reach the nav point, only to find out that you need to move on to another location and reinforce. Here I feel the game really shines as you get some decent voice acting and the biomes feel a lot more unique. These missions often last longer as you will have to visit multiple waypoints as well as scan objectives and destroy enemy units. There's often a lot going on, and many of these missions will let you participate in some of the pivotal events in Battletech. Like most open-ended sandbox games, missions can feel very grindy, and let's face it, they are. But there is enough variety in missions to hopefully not make it feel too stale. Each successful mission gives you your negotiated rewards, sometimes a bonus, and raises your overall reputation, taking you from a lowly scrub to a legendary Mechwarrior mercenary company. Story. The story for Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries is an oldie but a goodie. You are one Jake Mason, son of the famous Mechwarrior Nikolai Mason, who is brutally murdered while on a job. You survive, but now seek to uncover who killed your father and make them pay. So ultimately, it's a revenge story. As you complete more campaign missions, you uncover who killed your father, and later why, so there's more to the story than just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It turns into something of a mystery. I'm having a lot of fun following up on each mission to see where things wind up. Along the way, you'll travel through the Inner Sphere, getting to meet new and interesting characters, and in a lot of instances, stomp them into the ground under the feet of your battle mech. I'm finding the story compelling and fun, especially as you're growing your mercenary company. It's immersive for me, and I'm big on story. I'm that guy that will play Hairbrained Schemes Battletech over and over, but I'll go through the campaign story because I dig it. There were enough hooks to keep me interested, but I also had to handle the business of being a mercenary, and took as many jobs as I could to fatten up my wallet as well as build out a stable of great mechs and mech warriors. In the game, you have two people that you directly interact with, and a third who provides you intel. Reyna is your dropship pilot and operations officer for your mercenary command. She'll drop you off and pick you up, plus brief you on upcoming missions. Then you have Fahad, the chief technician for your company. He's the man who will help refit your mechs and put them back together after a grueling mission, and he'll let you know how disappointed he is every step of the way. And then finally, you'll encounter Spears, a mysterious associate of your father's, and he works for Interstellar Expeditions. He'll help gather the intel needed to find out who killed your father, as well as clues to locate them. The story will take place all over the Inner Sphere, from planet to planet, and you'll go through some exciting and nail-biting missions. As of this recording, I have not finished the main campaign storyline. If you have the DLCs, many of them will add a new series of campaign missions. In a few instances, once you accept them, you'll be committed to that particular campaign until completion. You can check your transmissions for any specific missions that are available to you. These DLCs will take you through some of the critical events in the history of BattleTech. You'll be able to participate in the Fourth Succession War, namely when Hans Davian offered his bride, Melissa Steiner, the Capellan Confederation as a wedding present. You can help the fledgling nation-state of Rosselhog fight for their freedom against elements of the Draconis Combine, including some from the Ronin Wars. The War of 3039 has a long campaign arc with plenty of twists and turns along with it. Eventually, you'll be able to head to Solaris and meet a fan-favorite character from Mechwarrior 4 Mercenaries. The last DLC, Shadows of Kerensky, is all about the clan invasion finally making it to Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. But I don't have it yet. So all I have are different posts on social media about how prepared players thought they were, and how the clans just rolled through them like the Germans did to Poland in 1939. Needless to say, I'm excited and terrified for this expansion. Most of the DLC expansions also have some cutscenes to help paint a picture of the current landscape, and they're fun to watch, especially if you're a BattleTech lore aficionado. Music. The music for Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries is a combination of heavy metal, hard rock, and some orchestral beats. The soundtracks were composed by Sean Colton. I have no idea who this cat is, but he does some great work. With each DLC released, a new soundtrack comes along with it, and my guess is they're all interspersed throughout the game, but you'll hear some of the same tracks quite a bit. As a professed metalhead, I enjoy the soundtrack. As a part of the digital bundle, I received all the DLC soundtracks, and I've been listening to them and think the production value is great, and Sean Colton did a fantastic job. That type of music fits with the genre of giant stompy robots, some literal heavy metal. Graphics and sound. Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries is driven using Unreal Engine and all the pros and cons that go with that. The laptop I'm running Mechwarrior 5 on isn't a gaming laptop, so I don't have the graphics settings ramped up. I'm also the type of player that will lower the settings to the bare minimum if it gets me better gameplay. While yes, I do enjoy nice graphics, but they won't do me much good if they cause the game to lag to the point where I can't play. For me, I find the graphics vivid and they help convey the worlds that you're stomping around in, and the mechs look fantastic. The lasers are bright, PPCs have gravitas, and the autocannons have a loud thump, really adding to the game. The environments are amazing, some places I feel like I could be stomping around on Earth, and then there are other landscapes that are truly alien. The sounds are a lot of fun, from the constant thuds as you walk forward to the mechanical servo whines as you torso twist and look up and down. I find playing with headphones helps with the experience as you get to hear so much more, and I know when VTOLs are attacking as I can hear the whine of their engines. The voice acting in the game to me is well done. There are a variety of different actors and they don't all sound like they came from the same planet. It's also nice to hear some words that I've only ever read and hear them pronounced the way I do in my head. The dropship you traverse the Inner Sphere in is massive, and the game does a great job to convey that it holds 4 battle mechs in its main bays. You can go to the command center, your office, and other areas. What the game does not realistically show is where the 20 plus additional mechs you might have prepped are stored, or the 50 mechs that you have in cold storage. I mean, they must have a battle mech sized TARDIS or something. That's not that big of a deal to me. Game types. There are 3 main ways to play Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. First is the campaign, where you start at the beginning of the story, take campaign story missions leading you all over the Inner Sphere to its inevitable conclusion. The second option is career mode, which is similar to the career mode in Harebrained Schemes BattleTech. Here there is no campaign storyline. You just play the role of a mercenary commander, picking a starting faction, getting some random mechs, and playing your skills for C-bills and fame. Along the way, when you reach a certain reputation level, or the timeline has progressed far enough, you'll be able to engage in various DLC campaign missions. I have not tried career mode yet, but since I'm a story-driven player, this doesn't appeal to me as much, though I'm sure I'll give it a go. The last option is instant action, where you pick some mechs and get dropped into the meat grinder. You also have the ability to invite other people to join in your game. They will take the place of your lance mates. Mods. One of the biggest selling points for Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries is that the modding community is massive for it. I've had quite a few recommendations for mods, but as I'm playing through a vanilla campaign with no mods, I can't comment much. I'm not finding anything lacking through my first go-through, but if you have some recommendation for mods, drop them in the comments below. Value and final verdict. Is Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries a value for your gaming dollar? I got my copy, plus all the DLCs on sale through Steam, so for me, 100%. From what I've read, the base game, no DLCs, is a slog. So if you can get a deal on the game with the DLCs, I say go for it. If you're a Battletech fan, if you like driving giant stompy robots and destroying everything in their wake, plus some fun twists and turns along the way, this is a great game. If you're on the fence, I'd recommend waiting until it goes on one of the inevitable sales Steam has. I can't comment on other vendors. The sandbox nature of the game allows you to explore the Inner Sphere, help fight in some of Battletech's historical events, and earn a lot of C-bills along the way. I don't have the Shadows of Kerensky yet, but my understanding is that it's brutal. The clans pull no punches. Once I get Shadows of Kerensky, I'll share my thoughts, but I'm looking forward to and dreading it. That's my review for Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. This was not a complete and comprehensive guide, but I wanted to give you the highs and in some cases the low points of the game so you can see what's going on. I do recommend the game for Battletech fans, for Mechwarrior series fans, and for fans of giant stompy robots. You get a lot of action, a healthy modding community, and challenges aplenty. You get to explore an established setting and demolish the enemy forces while doing it. The mercenary life isn't for the faint of heart or the timid. It's brutal, filled with death and pain, but at least it's not boring. What are your thoughts on Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries? Are you an OG Mechwarrior fan, or are you new to the franchise? What did I get wrong, or did I skip over something you felt I should have given more attention? What are the best mods to improve gameplay? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.